Hi everyone, I'm here with Dr. Sesay, who is a GP and women's health advocate. So, Dr. Sesay, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, of course. You know what, Azia, thank you so much for inviting me to this and for what you're doing. I'm so proud of you. A fourth year medical student, busy, busy bee, but fitting this in, amazing. Well done. Keep it up. But for anyone who's listening who doesn't know, I'm Dr. Aziza Sesay. I'm an NHS GP, a GP educator. I'm also a health content creator. So I run a platform called Talks with Dr. Sesay, which is all about health awareness, advocacy, education, and I talk about everything really, but I have a particular emphasis and interest in women's and gynecological health, as well as health inequity, mental health, and cancer awareness. So, yeah, I'm really excited to be here. If you want to know a little bit about my personal life as well, I am a mom of two.
Oh.
and Yeah, I'm married. There you go. That's me.
How old are your children?
So they're 5 and 2.
Oh, I bet they keep you very busy then. They keep you on your toes.
They really, really do. Like, I'm gonna have to go pick up my son in a minute after this. Yeah.
So, can you tell us a little bit about your journey into medicine?
Of course. So, I guess the first question to answer is, when did I know that I wanted to be a doctor, right? My mom always talks about how when I was around 6 or 7, we were on a plane and someone shouted out, "Is there a doctor on the plane?" And then I saw what they were doing. I was just really impressed by it. I've always been really strong in the sciences, and I've always wanted to, cliche, I know, and I'm doing air quotes right now, help people. So it was just a no-brainer, you know? And I was very fortunate. You hear my accent, and a lot of people think automatically that I'm American, but I'm not. I was born and raised in Saudi Arabia, and I'm
Oh,
of Sierra
wow.
Leonean heritage. I've been in the UK for the last 21 years, and I cannot get rid of this accent. International school is international school. I have family who live in the States. So I did my A levels here, went to med school as well, and the rest is history. Yeah.
Wow, that's great. Where did you go to med school?
Yeah, so I went to Leicester Medical School. So when I moved to the UK, I was around the Midlands. And actually, at the time, Leicester was the top ranking medical school, believe
Oh,
it or not. So, yeah.
yeah, it's not too far. I've been to Leicester Medical School quite a few times. I go to Nottingham,
Really?
but yeah, I've been there for
Oh,
conferences and things. So
nice.
yeah, it's I say the Midlands accent though it couldn't break your international one.
Oh.
What made you decide you wanted to become a GP then?
Yeah, so when I was going through med school, I mean, you know how some people know for sure that they want to be a neurosurgeon or something like at the very start, the first day of med school, that's what they want to be and that's their goal. I didn't have that. I just knew I wanted to be a doctor, right? I loved
Mm.
kids. So I was like, maybe pediatrics. Obviously, I loved women's health, maybe obs and gynae. I wasn't sure. And then when I qualified, whilst I was working in hospital, I just found, and this is me being completely honest, I found the unsociable hours really difficult.
Yeah.
But also when I went into GP, I just loved the fact that, we're seeing people from literally from conception, right? So when someone is pregnant up until their end of life, and you
Mm.
get to see their story, you get to have that consistency and the interactions that's ongoing as well. And I love that aspect. I also love that it was multiple different specialties really that you're dealing with. I love ENT, I love peds, I love women's and gynecological health, and I could do all of that. I do also enjoy mental health, and I could do all of that, and I had that continuity with my patients. So it wasn't they came in acutely and then they disappeared, and I don't know what happened. It is I see them, maybe they go to hospital, but they're always coming back, and I
Yeah.
love that. I'm a people's person. And I also love the fact that you can build that rapport and that relationship with the patients. So that's how GP won, really.
No, it's so lovely to hear. And I think it's so right, being a GP, the hours are much nicer than, if you don't want to do those unsociable hours, it is a really good
Yes.
option. And that can be your only reason for wanting to do GP as
Yeah.
well. There's nothing wrong with choosing that, because I think it does have one of the better work-life balances out of the specialties, doesn't
It
it?
does if you're not doing it full time. So I think
Yeah.
a lot of people always assume that GPs are just 9 to 5. That's not true. Like when we're on call,
No.
we're doing half 8, that's our half 8 to half 6, sometimes even later. And then you can
Mm.
choose to do the out of hour shifts. But the fact is, you can choose. You
Yeah.
have the autonomy. I think what's beautiful about being GP, what I really enjoy, is the fact that you can do it amongst other things. So you don't have to be working full time as a GP, or you could be what's called a portfolio GP. So yeah, you're doing the day-to-day clinic, but you're also doing other things, and that could be anything at all, which is what I'm doing on the side and enjoying.
Yeah.
I love that I'm still seeing my patient, but I also love that I can impact greater and bigger through other avenues, which we'll discuss, I'm sure.
Yeah, definitely. I think portfolio GPs are becoming much more popular now as well. I think a lot of people are trying to diversify their portfolios. So, yeah, we'll talk a little bit about some of the amazing things you're involved with. So, the first thing was, what made you want to become a women's health advocate?
Yeah, so like I say, I've always been interested in women's and gynecological health. That was always a thing. I have diplomas and specialist training with women's and gynecological health. So that was there. And I would always give talks to my local community women. And it was just one of those things. So everything was in a really small, compact box of individuals that I was seeing, as well as
Yeah.
my patients. And then the pandemic happened, and obviously lockdown meant that we couldn't see people face to face anymore. And I thought, okay, I still want to give these community talks, especially because the WhatsApp group was flooded with loads of crazy misinformation. And
Yeah.
then, I had relatives asking me medical advice because they couldn't see their doctor, or they're too scared to go and see their doctor. And, one of my aunts was boasting about the fact that she'd stopped taking her blood pressure tablets because her blood pressure is finally normal. And I was like, yeah, but that's normal because you're taking blood pressure
Yeah.
tablets, and that basic knowledge wasn't there. So I thought, you know what, I still need to do these talks. And Zoom was up and coming at the time. So I started doing Zoom talks, and I was advertising. And I thought, you know what, I want to reach a bigger audience because now I can do this worldwide. So
Yeah.
then I set up my Instagram to get more people to join. And I was doing that, and it was building traction and creating these small posts here and there. And then I got pregnant during the pandemic because there wasn't anything else that was fun to do at the time. Sorry, that's probably TMI. So I got pregnant. And it made things really difficult with the nausea and the vomiting and just the pregnancy
Mm.
symptoms that are associated. And so I started creating short, snappy videos. Like I got into reels, and I found it really fun. I'm like, okay, and it was
Yeah.
kind of like a challenge. How quickly can I grab someone's attention to teach them something that's actually life saving and impacting that could make such a massive difference?
Yeah.
And it was brilliant. Through that I started making all these videos, and what's been really exciting is that when it comes to a lot of women's health and gynecological health, there are loads of myths. There are loads of misconceptions.
Mm.
There's just a lot of misunderstanding. And again, the basic knowledge wasn't there. So I just felt, let's get this information out there. Unfortunately, in the UK, when we talk about gender health gap, so gender health gap essentially is the gap in health between genders. It is
Mm.
ridiculously wide. The the healthcare systems essentially were built by men for men, and
Yeah.
women were just on the sideline, like research and research. I believe that women weren't included in research until the 1990s. How insane is
It's
that? We
crazy.
make more
Yeah.
than 50% of the population. And even when we talk about research, we're only make up like 1%, 1 to 2% of the research, depending on who you quote, when we exclude cancer. So there's a lot of work that needs to be done in the women's health space.
Definitely.
And
Yeah.
also, being a woman myself, I have 4 sisters, and just seeing what we've all been through, I've just had this passion that I want to empower women. I want to empower all of us with the knowledge so that we can change our outcomes, so we can improve our outcomes and
Mm.
change our lives, really,
Yeah.
and save lives in the same process. But I also feel it's important that we include men. Everybody needs to be included in this conversation, because if it's not affecting you directly, it's going to affect you indirectly, whether it be your mom, your dad, your sister,
Yeah,
your
definitely.
nieces, your daughters one day, you know? So, yeah, that's my passion in women's health, and that's how it came about. So, I do a lot of that. But again, like I say, the health inequity is a big thing for me, and there's a lot of it,
Yeah.
unfortunately, in women's health, as we say, and also cancer awareness.
Definitely, you're doing some really great work. But I do know that you have faced some challenges kind of regarding censorship when you're talking about women's health or sexual health.
Mm,
And what advice do you have for creators who are trying to talk about these things, but they're facing these issues? Because when you're using medical terminology, that shouldn't
mm.
be censored. And it's
Yes.
crazy because you're just trying to get a message out there.
Yeah, it's been really frustrating, surprising, I have to say, because I didn't realize that it was that bad until I got into social media. When it
Mm,
comes to anything women's health or women's bodies, it's always seen as hypersexual immediately. So that means that it's inappropriate or it's pornographic. So if you say the words vagina or vulva or clitoris, it gets censored because it's seen again as pornographic or inappropriate,
yeah,
rather than literal names of body parts, which is insanity, isn't
I
it?
know. You're not getting
So
censored for saying arm or leg, are you? So.
mm, exactly that. You know, I love that you said that. It's interesting because I'm always pushing for using the correct terminology, whatever age you are, and the younger the better, really, because I feel like, and we know this for a fact, we perpetuate shame and stigma, or we initiate it anyways in children through using different names for body
Mm,
parts. So. I remember I had this talk that I did, and I was like, use the correct names, and there many reasons for it. One of them is to protect our children from predators, because then you
yeah,
know if they say that someone is touching their vulva, they mean vulva, not anything else. If you use words like flower or cookie, it gets confused, and you're like, do they mean this? Do they not mean it? There's no confusion if they use the correct
no,
words.
exactly.
And then this mom told me that, you know, she was so empowered by what I said that she taught her son to say penis instead of I don't remember what she said, but I'm just gonna say ding dong because that's a
Yeah.
word that some people use. And her son immediately was like, "Oh, okay, that's great, thank you, mommy. So what's the real name of my elbow?" You know, so and obviously the real name of his elbow is elbow. So then he
Yeah,
start
you don't.
questioning, why did we use a different word for my penis? It's
Yeah,
those little things that's really important that we put out there. And as you say, the censorship can be really disheartening, and you kind of sometimes feel like you want to give up, because what happens is when you get censored, particularly if you're on the social media platforms, you get the reduction in views and engagement, and
mm,
then it's like your audiences drop because they're not even seeing your stuff, which again is
yeah,
life-saving and so disappointing. And when you put that much effort into creating content, you want it to reach individuals not for popularity, but because you want them to know, like, this is knowledge that if one person finds out, they can share it with another person who says it with another person. It's a ripple effect, you know. And so the
yeah,
more people that know, the better. It becomes disheartening and discouraging. But I honestly, despite that, it's just pushing through it and just continuing to make that change, continuing to stick with your guns and your beliefs. So if anybody is creating content and feeling or doing any form of advocacy and they're getting sort of, they feel like they're hitting brick walls, I genuinely would say maybe take a break for a minute, otherwise you'd lose your mind. But also, don't give up, right? Because you're making a change. And sometimes I think we always view it as it needs to impact at least 100 people or something like that. But
mm,
imagine you say something and you save one whole life.
yeah,
That is impactful. That is
exactly.
so impactful. And that's what it's all about. You know, it's making the change for, even if it's one person. That's what I've always said, and I know a lot of people say, but and I know it sounds cliche, but it's true. If even one person is saved, or their life is changed, or positively impacted through this work, then it's worth it, isn't it? You know,
Yeah,
it's like the
definitely.
best reward. So yeah,
No,
keep going.
I think, yeah, you're so right. And I kind of faced the same problem with Anatomy when we were
Hmm.
publishing our surface anatomical imagery. So the models are in their underwear. And when I shared the post on LinkedIn,
Yeah.
no engagement at all. But then when I changed it so that the models, they weren't like overtly just in that underwear, then it started getting pushed and shared to people, which is
Got it.
crazy because you see,
Yeah.
I mean, on TikTok, there's people who like
Yeah.
dancing
Yeah.
bikinis and
Yes.
things like that. On the
Yes.
TV, when you watch a perfume advert,
Yeah.
everyone's like,
Yeah.
very scantily clad in those too. But when it's for medical and educational purposes, it's almost getting shadow banned from
Yeah,
people.
exactly. And it's like, why can't they differentiate between the two? Like, they have all these incredible advances in technology. Like, you have all this AI and whatnot. Why can't they
Yeah,
figure out how to differentiate the two? But also, like you say, why are all those other really inappropriate things accessible? What
yeah,
what is it? What I'm still trying to figure it out, really. But I feel like a lot of it is to do with control and the patriarchy.
yeah.
But that's a whole other conversation.
No, healthcare should never be stigmatized. And you're right, when you don't use the correct terminology. So I think
Yeah.
even some people, when they are saying, vagina, penis, they're a bit like, ooh, like they feel
Yeah.
embarrassed to even say those
Yeah.
words when
Or they
it's,
apologize. I
yeah.
did a talk for an organization, and the lady was introducing me, oh yeah, it started. My session always starts. I always do polls on my sessions. So I did a poll asking, like, I showed a picture of a line drawing of a vulva,
Mm,
and I asked whether it was a vulva or vagina. Right. And so she was asking the question for me, looking at the Slido at the time. And then she was like, "Oh, yeah, do you think it's vulva or vagina?" And then she said, "Oh, I'm really sorry if any of you find this inappropriate." And I had to stop her to say, "But why are you saying that?
yeah, it's not
Why should
inappropriate.
anyone find it inappropriate?" And I think that when we preface things with that, then even if someone wasn't thinking it, then they would start to believe that, oh, maybe it is inappropriate. Oop, okay, I won't say it out loud. So
Yeah,
it starts with changing what we've grown up with, because there's that generational shame and there's the generational thought processes that have passed on through our elders. So I mean, I feel like I'm hoping that the buck will stop at us, because if we can stop this now, for the next generation, they shouldn't hopefully face the same thing as they're getting older. And fingers crossed, it means that their health improves. Their health outcomes would be much better, and also their lives will be much better than ours.
definitely. And I think, it comes with teaching your children the correct
Yeah.
terminology for things. And even people are still so embarrassed just to seek help for intimate problems at the
Yes.
GP because they're scared they're going to be judged. And for me,
Yeah.
as a medical student, when I'm on placement, an intimate or sexual health problem is no different to, if you've got
Yeah.
tennis elbow or something like that. And that's
Exactly.
how
I
you
mean, it's
treat
filled with
people.
embarrassment and shame. But yeah, if we make it more matter of fact, and when you say that some people are embarrassed, like the older generation, there's a story of an elderly woman who went to see her doctor who was male. She was already embarrassed by that, and
Mm,
she left whatever was going on for quite a while. Then she told him that she was having problems down there. He didn't clarify what she meant, and then he examined her anus instead of her vulva. So actually, the issue that she came with wasn't looked at, wasn't
yeah,
even assessed, and then she wasn't managed appropriately, and it was because she didn't feel comfortable enough to say vulva.
yeah,
Although, really, sometimes, yeah, I mean, you need to clarify, but yeah, it's those kind of things. Whereas if you go confidently telling your GP, like the other day, I saw a patient who said, "I have a bulge in my perineum." I was like, "Oh wow, okay, that's good. Let's do
yeah,
that." She was so specific. She knew exactly what she meant. I asked for clarity, obviously, just to make 100% sure, but she knew what she was talking about.
yeah.
That's
No,
what you want, and then you can be focused on the area and assess the correct area and hopefully manage them to the in the best possible way, right?
exactly. So you spoke about a bit about this before we started recording. So can you tell us a little bit about your role as a delegate for UN Women UK and what it involved?
Yeah. So UN Women UK, they're doing really incredible work, right? They're doing a lot of work around gender-based violence, the gender health gap, just gender inequalities. And they're trying to solve them and change things, make a difference, because too long these inequities, these inequalities, these violences have continued, right? And it we're hoping that it can get better, but I don't know. Fingers crossed that they're tackling and trying to make a change, which is really, really inspiring.
Yeah.
So I along with, I think there were about 1,000 of us all together, were selected as a UN Women UK delegate, and it meant that we had access to the CSW 67, I believe it was 67 last year. We had access to loads of different conferences, loads of different conversations and talks around specific topics, whether, as I say, be around gender-based violence, gender health and equality. And again, we got to listen to experts, have conversations with other like-minded individuals. And it was just really empowering, those 2 weeks of the CSW. And I felt really privileged to be included in it, and I'm going to apply this year. You should apply too, Azia. You're already doing, you will get it. Honestly, you will. Just apply. This is
Yeah.
another thing that I want anyone listening to this to remember. You know, a lot of the times we are our own biggest obstacles. We are the
Mhm.
ones who put things forward rather than not put things forward, but put like walls against ourselves. Uh, because we just don't have that much self-belief, or we
Yeah.
probably we're self-deprecating. So I would just say, when it comes to different opportunities, just try. You know, the
Yeah.
worst thing that will happen is the same thing that would happen if you don't, right? The
Yeah.
answer will be
Nothing.
no. The answer will be no if you don't try 100%. But it may not be if you do. So, yeah, just be confident, put yourself out there, and don't put yourself down, because you'd be surprised how much you're doing. Like the fact that you're doing this now as a fourth year medical student, I'm just so impressed, honestly. I'm blown away by you,
Thank
Asia.
you so much.
No
Um,
worries.
then, can you tell us a little bit about how you became involved with Black Female Doctors UK and what your role is within that organisation?
Of course. So Black Female Doctors UK is a nonprofit organization, and we're all about uniting, empowering, and excelling fellow Black female doctors and aspiring Black female doctors. So when I was in med school, there weren't that many of us. Okay, I think there were five. Yeah, there was literally a handful of us Black female medical students in my year. You know, and
Mm.
I can tell you that I didn't really have a Black female mentor, or I didn't really have anybody, you know, that far ahead that I could look up to,
Yeah.
just for that sort of inspiration. And it's just to give us all that support, that network. And it's kind of like a way to debrief, because we all understand our lived in experiences, right? It's really hard to empathize with something that you've never experienced, and that's the
Mm.
truth, right? So it's, again, just providing this space for us to be ourselves, for us to talk about our hardships. We have that triple, we have the triple negative. It's a positive, but you know, the triple challenges of being a woman, of being Black, and being a doctor within the health space. So yeah, that's what we're all about. We also have a mentorship scheme. We have a membership. If you haven't joined, make sure you join.
Yeah, I was gonna say I haven't
Um,
got on that.
Okay, good. We have all these events that we host. In fact, I'm going to do a plug. On the 2nd of March, we have founded an award ceremony called the Cura Awards and Dinner Gala. And what we're doing is we're honoring every woman, all women within the UK who are creating change, impacting, and making a difference within healthcare. So this
Yeah.
is all women in healthcare. So that's, be it a doctor, midwife, all the other allied healthcare professionals, and pharmacists, as well as all the women in the space who are making a change, like you. Like you could have qualified, you could have been shortlisted as a finalist. The event's on the 2nd of March this year from 6:30 at De Vere Grand Connaught. Really excited. We have people from the colleges who are going to be there, people from the
Oh wow.
Faculty of Sexual Reproductive Health, leaders and pioneers in this women health space. So yeah, if you want to join us, it's going to be an amazing night. We're going to have entertainment, and you get to meet me as well, Lazy, in person if you want. But yeah, if anybody wants to find out more, go to www.thecuraawards.com.
No, and I can't wait to see how it goes, because I've seen some of the finalists and the people whose work that I've followed,
Yeah.
closely. And also, I think these types of events are a great way for people like me who don't know all the finalists to get to know more people who are doing other things. It just gives more exposure, doesn't it, to
Yes.
the
Perfect
things that you're doing
networking as
for.
well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
great. And do you hold any other roles, or are you involved in any initiatives that you'd like to share with us?
Yeah, so as well as Black female doctors, I'm also on the board of directors of an organization called Prevention First Sierra Leone. So I'm originally Sierra Leonean, and this is one again. It's supports girls who may have gone through sexual violence, and they provide education and awareness, which again is quite close to my heart. I am also an ambassador for the Eve Appeal, which is this is the leading UK gynecological cancer charity. I am also an ambassador for well-being of women. I'm a trustee so well-being of women is the UK's leading gynecological and reproductive charity. So very women's health focused.
Yeah.
Again, something I'm really passionate about, hence ambassador. I'm also the trustee of an organization called Sisters. So they're an organization that nonprofit, they're a charity, and they essentially, again, provide support, education for women who suffer with conditions such as PCOS, endometriosis, just giving them this, providing the support and the space. They are based in Birmingham. What else do I do? Yeah, so and I also I've worked with Joe Cervical Cancer Trust. I also work with Black Women Rising. So Joe Cervical Cancer Trust is specific to cervical cancer in the UK. Black Women Rising UK is an amazing charity for Black women, specifically for Black women. But they also do have a subgroup of South Asians who have experienced cancer, are either living with cancer. And again, it's just that space and the camaraderie and the support that you need. You don't want to feel alone. And I'm really happy to be supporting them. I've also been involved in different campaigns, national campaigns with NHS England, and I also work with YouTube Health. When I say work with, I am one of their clinician creators. I'm building my page in that regard, and I've done some things with them. And I really want health awareness to be out there. So I've been quoted on quite a few different news outlets, BBC, and so on. And I also write for different magazines and things. I've written a couple of articles. So yeah, wherever I can disseminate information on how I can do it, I link up with loads of different organizations and so on. And yeah, I just want things to be out there. And again, I do podcasts with incredible women like you, Azia,
Oh, thank
to,
you.
to push the information, just anything to raise awareness.
I see you're doing so many things. It's incredible. And you do all of this alongside working as a GP, being a mom, you're amazing. And I think it's so lovely as well that you're willing to take the time to speak to like medical students like myself and
Of course.
reach out
I
to
was
other
one.
people. It's amazing. So yeah, you do so many amazing things. I'll try to link as many of them as I can in
Oh,
the
I
description
know.
so
I'm like,
everyone
wait,
can check
should
out
I
what
stop? I don't know.
you're doing. So my final question to you would be, what piece of advice would you give to healthcare professionals who want to become involved in advocacy?
I would say go for it. Honestly, it is so rewarding. You know, when we are seeing patients one on one, we're literally seeing them one on one, which is great. We're impacting them directly. But the fact that when you go into advocacy and you're working with different organizations, if you choose to work with organizations, or if you're doing it through social media or you're writing articles, whatever, you are reaching a mass of individuals, a greater mass of individuals, and you're changing the lives of so many people potentially. It's honestly one of the most rewarding things for me. Obviously, I'm not doing it for the reward. I do it because I want the information out there. But to get feedback from people I never met you, Asia, and you give me the feedback about how my work is impacting you. But to hear people who say, for instance, oh, I've attended my cervical screening because of you, and I found
Yeah.
something, and they managed to remove it. I'm now cured. Or because of you, I looked at my vulva, so I have my vulva video, how to check your vulva. I checked my vulva and I have lichen sclerosis, and hopefully it won't progress to cancer now because it's been picked up. Those kind of
Yeah.
things just really warms my heart, because it means that, wow, it is really making a change. It's making a difference. You have no idea who's watching your video. So I would say, please go for it. Please push for it, and collaborate with people, because the truth is we can impact bigger and greater together. You can't do it alone, and don't try to do it alone. If something is already being done, reach out to whoever is already doing it and see how you can help them, how you can improve things. It doesn't, we don't all need to start something new. There's a lot of there are loads of grassroots organizations that are doing incredible things. Reach out, reach out. Like Asia's reached out to me. I don't know her. It was just through Instagram. I think I supported
Yeah.
you for something else that you were doing. Yeah, when you were running that campaign. And then she asked me, and I said yes. Again, reach out. You never know what could happen. You never know what connections you'll make. And put yourself in those rooms. Get yourself in those rooms. If you have the opportunities, like, going to the award ceremony if you can afford it. Oh,
Yeah.
there is a student discount, by the way, if you want. So that you are with those leading pioneers, because if you get to interact with them, they will remember you. They will
Yeah.
remember you in future.
Yeah, so I've met so many people just like going to conferences, and
Yeah.
you get to make friends and make connections that way. And I think it's
Mhm.
so amazing to actually be in the room with people, actually meet
Yeah.
people in
Yeah.
person, and just put yourself
Yeah.
out there. And I think sometimes it can be a bit scary, but I know
Yeah.
this weekend I'll go to a conference by myself because I'm interested in the
Oh,
topic.
so
So
proud of
you might
you.
as well go. And what's the worst? You're just going to be sat there. No one's going to come and be
Yeah.
mean to you.
Oh
So I
no.
think
And
you're so
yeah.
right. Putting yourself out there is so
Yeah.
important.
Absolutely. You never know what will come from it. And also, you become more confident over time. I used to be so nervous going to certain things, but because I'm doing it so much now, it's like, okay.
Yeah, you just
It's
trust.
fun. Yeah.
Well, it's been so lovely to speak to you and actually get to talk to you instead of just over Instagram and
I
messages and
know.
emails. It's been really inspiring. So thank you so much for coming on.
No, look, Asia, honestly, I know I've said it so many times already. I am so proud of you. Honestly,
Thank
keep
you.
pushing, keep doing what you're doing. I think you're really beautiful. You're a beautiful soul, and you really do want to impact people and make a change. So yeah, it's amazing, and I can't wait to call you Dr. Asia Lee. Leah? Is it Lee?
Thank you. Hopefully next year,
Yeah,
2025, that'll be the
yes.
reality.
Yeah, yeah. I'm so proud of you. Keep it up. And thank you so much for having me. And of course, anytime you need anything, I know you. I know I kept saying I don't know. I guess I'm trying to make a point of, you don't know people unless you put yourself in a position to get to know them. And now I know her. So, yeah.
Definitely. So, yeah, I'll link all of your social media in the description. If any of you want to get in touch with Aziza, then you heard her. Go get in touch with her so she knows you.
I love that. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.